Kevin Waugh. Let's go to Kevin Waugh first. I'll tell you when to stop. I get so excited when I see him at Heritage Committee because, as I said, he's a former journalist, but he's from Saskatchewan, so he's got those Saskatchewan sensibilities, and he has got no time for the CBC, and I just love it. So, to give you some context, CBC has a streaming platform called CBC Gem. They claim everybody watches it. Nobody does. They won't turn over those and to protect the lie, they won't turn over the subscriber numbers for a platform funded by the taxpayer, and they're in court fighting it. Kevin thinks that's garbage. Let's hear.
Madam Chair, and welcome again, Madam Bouchard. You know, I looked at your 5-year plan for CBC, and right at top, you talk about accountability and transparency, which is any organization, those two should be on the top. But yet, to date, you've refused to provide any accountability to Canadians by sharing the numbers of CBC Gem. And that's an issue. We talked about it here with your predecessor, Ms. Tate, and she said, oh, it's going well. We got 2 million on and off viewers. But yet the subscribers vary because of the Olympics. They come on, they watch the Winter Olympics, and then they leave. But why aren't you disclosing those numbers on CBC Gem? I mean, your competitor may be Crave from the Bell Media, and they're trumpeting 4 million. So why would you not disclose CBC Gem numbers to the public? Because you're all about accountability and transparency.
Yeah. So the way people subscribe to platforms such as Gem or Crave is evolving quickly. Used to be everybody was behind a paywall, and CBC was offering a hybrid model, both with 2TV and with Gem. We were, first of all, with Gem was completely free, and then we added on a tier of subscriber features that were essentially being able to watch without advertising and access to CBC Newsnet. So these are considerations that have play in the negotiations that we have with distributors, with bundling. And these are issues that are discussed under confidentiality when we are negotiating. Now, the fact of the matter is, this is CRTC, which is the body that governs all of the communication, telecommunication, and the platforms, considers this type of information specifically and treats it as confidential. So we have a situation where we've got the Information Commissioner who came to a conclusion, and we've got the CRTC that considers that to be confidential. So we really have a conflict of interpretation.
Hiding it. Are you embarrassed about the numbers of CBC Gem?
No.
Then why don't you come out and just say, here's the numbers that we got? I mean, you started this in 2019, CBC Gem. Mm-hmm. Now you have a 5-year mandate that you released last week. Give us some numbers.
Well, I can give you a number, which is 5,300,000, and that's the number of people who've created an account. That's not necessary. No, not necessarily. But that number, the number of people who are paying, is a number we keep confidential for competitive reasons.
Yeah, I understand.
And it is validated by the CRTC. So we're asking the court to simply reconcile these two interpretations that are contradictory. That's what
So how much money have you put into GEM in the last 5 years? Do you know that?
I don't have that number.
Could you bring that number forward? I mean, we had Ms. Tate here glowingly talking about GEM and how it's doing. And we'd like to know how much money you've put into GEM. You have a 5-year commitment here that you released last week. So, I just looked at, you want more children, more newcomers, more youth. You want to get non-users getting involved, and you want dissatisfied users coming on board. Well, how are you going to do that when you're not really accountable and transparency with your numbers?
Oh, Mr. Waugh, I think, Madam Chair, I think our accounts are public. There's lots of transparency around how CBC receives and manages public funds and our commercial revenue as well. More transparency than most. Now, specifically on GEM, I'd just like to point out that there's the platform in terms of technology, and then there's the content.
Yep.
Now, the content is multi-use, right?
That's
It
right.
finds its way on various platforms, to use that term. It can be linear TV, it can be on
Absolutely.
GEM, it can be on third-party platforms.
Could
So
you-
it's difficult to circumscribe what you're asking, because, you know.
Could you do your best for the committee? Bring up some numbers in the next couple of weeks while we're asking.
The number
certain-
I can talk to eventually, because I don't have that right now, is how much we've invested in technology.
Yeah, the
But,
number
you know, in terms of
invested.
content, that would be impossible to determine
Yeah.
because of the multi-use of
Then
the
just
content.
give us the
And
number
is-
that you've invested into GEM. That would really help, I think. It would help because it's one of your growing platforms. As you mentioned, radio, TV's dying. So could you bring those numbers forward?
I wouldn't say radio is dying.
Oh, come on.
In fact,
I think
we're
that's
very-
good.
Still very successful.
I think that's good, but you can see what we're dealing with here. She said,
There's a lot of work and preparation that has to go into getting them ready for the job market. It's not just about hammering out a resume, it's about making sure that they have the adequate supports. Some people don't often realize some of the struggles that some of these people go through. Not only are they connected to the work, but they're also connected to our whole mission and what we do as an organization.
says we can't divulge those numbers because they would hurt our competitive nature with Crave. And I'm like, what are you talking about competitive nature with Crave? You are taxpayer funded. You owe us those numbers. Right. What are we paying for? If it's people who given CBC their email, those aren't subscribers. You don't get to claim those in the 5 million.
Right. And what you saw there was just a left-wing masterclass in splitting hairs. So Kevin Waugh says, right, how many people are actively participating on your app right now or paying for your app right now? And she's like, well, it's just such a complicated question because if you could say, and she starts splitting hairs. Well, on one side, we have the app and the technology, and then on the other side, we have all of the content, and it depends on if they're subscribing through bundles. So if they're watching Fox News on a TV or Fox News on their phone, like, how would you ever distill all these numbers? It's just so complicated. And he's like, ma'am, just the facts. Like, I don't care about the drill down numbers that you're talking about, the ones that you use to justify your importance. If nobody is on your app, then why? And then why are we paying any money for it? P.S. How much money have we spent on it? And she's like, oh, well, that again, that's
hard to tell.
So complicated. It's all just so complicated. I love Kevin Waugh. Like,
I love
Kevin.
him.
Kevin
He's
Waugh
got no
is
time for BS.
he's the real CBC gem. Okay. He is the real CBC gem. And so we'll see if she comes back to him with any deliverables in these next couple weeks.
And
but what an obfuscating fool that woman is.
Look at the claim she's making. CBC Gem is growing. It's a successful platform for us. So then Kevin Waugh says, okay, show us the subscriber numbers. We don't want to know who they are. We don't care about their email address. Show us how it's growing because you are using this to justify the money Canadians are giving the CBC. Look at what we're doing with CBC Gem. And then they're like, oh, it's a secret. Believe us.
And if you have 2 viewers and you add 1 more, that's a really big jump in percentage. You've just increased your viewership by 30%. But if you have such a low viewership that even the addition of a marginal amount of people is going to be huge, well, then like, why are we doing this, CBC? But then we all know why we're doing this,
right?
CBC, you gotta spend those boku bucks somewhere, right?
Right. And it ain't working on the prairies, as Kerry Diott, Edmonton Conservative MP, back where he rightfully belongs. He lost his seat in the last election, not the most recent one, but before, thanks to a vote split with the PPC. But he's back where he belongs. And he points out to this lady, Marie-Philippe Bouchard, Hi, the surveys you are doing on Westerners show that Westerners don't trust you. Do you know why that is? And she's like, well, we never got that far with the survey. So anyways, just watch this. Kerry's great. He's right where he belongs on the Heritage Committee.
This is particular to Alberta. I believe you've had surveys that indicate that Albertans do not, they're not your biggest fans.
Well, again, paradox, because, radio is very successful, but Alberta and Saskatchewan are areas where we need to invest.
No, don't.
People in Saskatchewan and Alberta don't trust the CBC or feel that they're not balanced.
Well, I wouldn't say people in general don't trust, because that's not what the evidence or the surveys reveal. The level of trust is not as high as we would like, but it is still majority of people who trust CBC.
Could you extrapolate a little bit the level of trust? So what don't they trust? What does that
well,
survey tell you?
That the survey doesn't tell me exactly why their sentiment is what it is. They answer the question. Not a very good survey, then.
I'm sorry? Not a very good survey. Aren't you trying to gauge trust and balance? Is premier, as a journalist, of course, a long-time journalist, that's the premier thing that you want to achieve, right?
Well, you get a sense of that when you are in the field with the people, and that's when you are boots on the ground reporting that what's going on in the community, what are the preoccupations. I think that's how you enhance the sense of inclusion and the sense of trust.
Okay, I think that's a little vague, but as far as balance goes, I'm wondering if you would agree to table the last 5 Conservative voices that were on CBC News over the last 2 weeks. You were asked that previously, and we'd like to have it before the committee, provided no later than October 30th. Is that fair?
I'm assuming that's possible.
Good luck. Good luck digging those people up. Who are you going to trot out, Kerry tonight? Or Corey tonight? Is that it? Yes. Is that your CBC Conservative? I wouldn't be surprised if they don't put Andrew Coyne on the list of their CBC Conservatives.
Listen, we need more Andrew Coyne in Alberta and Saskatchewan. He'll convince them. Meanwhile, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, Sheila Gunn-Reid, there was no better evidence of the way people feel about the CBC than outside the Pierre Poilievre rally in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Yep. There was thousands of people in attendance. The CBC pulled up in its CBC branded vehicle, and the boos that erupted from that crowd, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And this, this lumbering CBC employee with his VCR on his shoulder and his huge tripod and, lumbering around. Listen, that man did not have a friend in 2 square kilometers. That man did not have a single friend. And yet the CBC would tell you, oh, no, the people of Saskatchewan just love the CBC.
Maybe there it is. Yeah, I got it. Let's, they're getting a warm reception. I said it. We have the audio.
Can we play that?
Saskatchewan doesn't like the CBC, Chad. They don't like the CBC over here.
Hey, rebel.
It's the best.
But I should note, they were not scared of physical harm, right? Because you could just hear the screaming. They weren't scared of physical harm. They knew they weren't going to be hurt. So they obviously didn't leave. They got out of their vehicle. They did their job. It's not like what happens to us when we go into an unfriendly crowd.
No. And to be fair, it wasn't the guy that they were yelling at. It was the CBC logo, the institution of the institution that they were screaming at. So anytime you hear, Marie-Philippe Bouchard or whatever her name is, saying, oh, no, the CBC is beloved in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Just think of this video. Okay, no, They are not. They're actually despised.
Earlier in that clip, like Carrie Dion is asking, like, why, what's the problem with the CBC in some markets, and she said, well, we're just not investing enough there. And it's like, no, we don't want you to spend any more money trying to brainwash us. Please stop that. We don't want you. Don't put any more money into Edmonton. Thank you very much.
Carrie Diot, we see the marble towers that your CBC employees get to work in. We see all of their branded vehicles. We see how much time they take off from the air. We see the stories you tell. We see the new Canadians you bring on to tell us the news in a language that's so heavily accented, you can hardly understand it. This is what we know of you, CBC. So we're just done with you on the prairies. We're in the new country. We will not be funding the media. Yes. No.
I'm not even letting them swim across the moat.
No, they don't get, we're declining, we're declining their visa.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Efron put